involved with is with a couple of the guys at the Aspire Academy in Qatar. Because we've got, in the last few years I've kind of developed modelling approaches for looking at trends, trajectories of performance. But we can look at trajectories of anthropometric measures, longitudinal data is what we want for that, of course, but it's the individuals, And what would be interesting is to see how those, how the changes occur closer to competitions, and so because then we've got some benchmarking for what athletes should, how athletes should be changing, as they get closer to competitions. I think that would be useful. It's going to be confounded by the training they're doing, but it's still a useful predictive variable kind of thing. The other thing perhaps working with Elaine on this one too is just how well some of the more practical anthropometric measures, how well they track the criterion measures. Not a lot of work has been done on that. A lot of the work tends to be snapshot type relationships amongst these things. But just as you can use heart rate to monitor fitness, and there's that equation and that.
220 minus.
Yeah.
The carbon equation.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, the individual, as a direct predictor, some of those are not that wonderful. But when you're looking at changes, deltas, they do track well, and we need to do some more work on that. Are we going to have access to DEXA scanning at some point, or yeah? What's the story there, Elaine? Is that?
Well, there's Lindsay playing at Auckland, and also in the Livens Institute with the measuring 2-year-olds.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll
moving time.
factor that stuff.
Is how do you get them to stay still?
It's difficult. Only half would.
Yeah.
Select them.
And you sure you don't? Just a minute or two. Your perspective on how you see this.
If I can, it's overwhelming almost. I heard the best summary this morning. The newspaper lady asked me the question, and Patria answered it much better than I could have, because the rate of development here is beyond what I've learned, in the sense that I knew what she was doing and the others doing a little bit, but just getting here, it's just been amazing to see what all you people are doing, and large number of PhD students and so on, and it is really one of the best in the world, probably. I mean, I can't think of another place that I would send someone at this point. And I agree with Dr. Rogi about, he said this was one of the 3 best in the world, but according to our authority here, we don't know what the other 2 are. So I assume we can just ignore them, and just say, hey, we are the best. But no, I think you should be really proud of that. And I want to say that, I've got to thank Will, because in 1990 I was making a presentation at the British Empire Games Commonwealth in Auckland. He was polite enough not to interrupt the proceedings, but afterwards he pulled me up sharply on my statistical analysis. Told me what I should have done.
See, no one's immune.
So I'm sure I'm not alone in that. That's right. But no, I mean, very good points of view, and you've had a different approach to things, which has been very useful, and I think you people should be glad that he's here, that he can help you on those kinds of things. But I'm just overwhelmed and thrilled at this occasion, and thanks to Patria primarily, the clinic and the archiving. I mean, that's the new thing. And Patria can tell you about what we dumped on your computer this morning.
What gigabytes was it? Or?
No, it wasn't that it was big, but it was good quality.
Oh, right. Involved with is with a couple of the guys at the Aspire Academy in Qatar, which is a boys' school basically for Arab boys. That was a consultant, and so they interested in doing anything they can on boys developing. And there was all this interest in age of peak height velocity, and whether that's whether around that time is an optimum training window. And so they've got all sorts of data on performance tests that they've done, things like standing jumps, counter jumps, and so on. And then, and yes, they've been determining the age of peak height velocity, from a prediction equation based on just based on standing height, sitting height, or something. Yeah, just forgetting the exact details of it. Formulas in there, and so it's quite interesting to track. We're trying to figure out how to model these data, because you can imagine it's some disgusting sigmoidal type thing, like their fitness would be down here, and then as they go through the age of peak height velocity, their fitness improves, and then they're leveling off. Well, you don't want to model sigmoids, all right? They're just disgusting, right?
Leave it up to you.
Well, I had a shot at it, but funnily enough, we've got a lot of data, but it just still wasn't quite enough. Just the sigmoid needs about 4 or 5 parameters to define it, and they're just void enough degrees of freedom on each kid to be able to do that. So what we did instead was just track the deltas. Like they test them when they first arrive for the academic year, and then they test them in the middle, and then they test them at the end of the season, and they've got to be all very fit. Then they go away and they do nothing, and they come back completely unfit and fat again, And so we've got four delta scores, pre to mid to end to pre, and then tracking how those deltas change with the age of the kid, calendar age and predicted peak height velocity, the age relative to the age of peak height velocity. And you actually can, if you just look at the height changes against the age relative to age of peak height velocity, you can actually see the deltas come up around about 13, 14, just after they arrive, and then come down again. Whereas if you do it against the actual calendar age, it sort of smears it out. There's not quite enough precision there, because of course the kids have got different ages of peak height velocity. And the interesting thing is, of course, they're using prediction equations based on European